So I said I was gonna come back for the grand finale, but I figured more or less I'll just talk to you a little bit about why I was missing in action. So my father, has been sick for over a year now, and he had this thing where when they operated on him about maybe say 5 or 6 times last year. And so he had this thing when they opened him for one thing and they realized that there was something else. And they were like, okay, so we know that this thing is there, but you have other issues that we need to focus on. So, to be continued, right? And so, a year later, they said, okay, there were a little bit of conflicting stories. Here's the thing. He told me that the doctors told him that he shouldn't have the surgery. Some of my siblings said they heard that the doctors had said that it was okay. But he told me they said it wasn't okay. I don't know the story at this point. So he decided to have the surgery. He had the surgery. When I went to see him the same day he had the surgery, the evening of the same day he had the surgery, he was responding. He was responsive. He knew I was there, but he couldn't respond in the sense that he had a breathing tube in. I asked him if he wanted me to pray for him. He shook his head. And when I was done praying for him, he did this. We had him covered up because we wanted for him to be warm. And he had his hand doing like this, his left hand. So I said, what happened? And I put my hand under there and he held on to my hand. He wanted to say thank you. So that was the Thursday. The Friday I went back in to see him. And he had, the breathing tube was out. And so he could speak a little bit. Again, he knew who we were. My sister and I were there. He knew who we were. And Friday, the Saturday, man, when I went there, my sister was feeding him because now they gave the okay for him to eat. So she was feeding him because it had been a few days since he had eaten since the surgery, and so she wanted to make sure that he was eating. And so we equate eating to health, right? So she was feeding him. He was speaking because he asked me, he was like, where is Tyler? I told him Tyler was home. That was a Saturday. We hung out with him, and then we left. The Sunday, when I went, I knew something was wrong when I walked in. I said, Daddy, are you okay? Wash my hands. He allowed me to wash my hand. When I washed my hands and walked over to him, he said, how is Tyler? I said, Tyler is okay. He said, where is he? I said, he's at home. I tell you, in hindsight, because Tyler saw him like a couple of days before he went into surgery, but he always asked for Tyler. But let me tell you something. My father said to me they found out he had a brain bleed. And so, bleeding in the brain. And I immediately called my sister. Anyway, she had visited earlier, so she came back in. I tell you, our lives was just surrounded around him. If, anytime anything happens, he goes in the hospital, it's just like we all move in to the hospital. And so, the journey began from there. A different journey. The Monday, they did a angiogram on him because they wanted to find out if it was a blood clot on the brain. He and I had some conversations, some personal conversations at that point, which kind of just made me think about some things. So that was the Monday. When I got there the next day, the Tuesday, they said that they were waiting for his blood pressure to go down so that they can transfer him to the regular floor. I was like, okay, so we're making progress. Did you guys find out where the brain bleed was coming from? They couldn't. They had not found where what it was the cause of the brain bleed. Okay, all right. So that was Tuesday night. Wednesday, I went in. And when I look at the card, the sticker, it says that he was on the regular floor. I was like, okay, we're making progress now. More and more progress. Great. So the Wednesday, this is all I needed, the molasses to make the gravy. That's it. That's all we needed. Yes. That's all was needed. So I was like, went there the Wednesday night. It was an interesting visit, without saying, to say the least. It was a very interesting visit. He was talking, saying a lot of things. Some of them, he wasn't talking to us in the room. And at one point, in my mind, I'm like, Daddy is looking, but he's not looking at us, per se. And I said to him, I wanted to distract him. So I said, Daddy, do you know any gospel song? Let's sing some gospel songs. And he started to talk the gospel songs, and he would talk it so I could sing it. And we were just that type of, that was happening at that point. And I was like, okay. He kept screaming, Tyler, Tyler, Tyler. I said, Daddy, and with me and with us, when we see certain things on our visits, we're recording. So I put my phone on record. I said, Daddy, who are you calling? He said, Tyler. I said, Tyler is in school. Then he starts saying, Junior, Junior, Junior. Now, there are a few juniors in the family, but the one junior that Daddy was really talking about was my sister's Joan's son. Because we had just had this running story. When Junior was a child, his father would take him to visit Daddy, and Junior broke Daddy's chair. And so, yeah, he was talking about that Junior. So when this story comes up again and anybody think that, it's their child, it was my sister Joan's son Daddy was calling for. So, we share some special moments. I'm telling you, you never know when your family members are in the hospital. Don't just leave them there. That might be the last time. And guess what? That was the last time that my father spoke. Because the next day, they put him back, this time in NICU or whatever. Yeah, NICU. And then he never spoke again. He wasn't even cognizant. It was one procedure that didn't work to another procedure that did not work, and on and on and on and on. So it just led us down a rabbit's hole. I'm gonna stop and start again.